had here's a thing that I sometimes don't hear you talk about, right? Because your journey is so fucking inspiring, and the fact that you were dyslexic, you couldn't read till you were how old?
Not dyslexic.
You couldn't read till you were how old?
I had to learn to read when I was like 30, and I got into having to do like live reads on the radio and stuff.
But you really didn't
stuff.
read and couldn't read until you were like a grown.
Well, I mean, if you handed me a cereal box, I suppose I could figure out what the contents of the box were. But if you said to me, walk over there, hit your mark, and your cue cards are in blue and Jimmy's are in black, we got a serious problem at this point.
But
yes.
You were a person who had an extraordinarily high IQ.
I don't know that.
There's no doubt. You speak in paragraphs, Adam. You do know that. All the sort of ways in which people quantify that stuff and measure it, it's clear because your ability to crunch a lot of information, synthesize it, and come out with a new point is in the most rarefied strata.
Well,
you know that because
you've
proven. No, it's not even a.
Well,
a compliment. I view that as just a fact.
Well, I don't know. See, and the reason I'm not trying to be combative, but what I'm saying is it's hard for me to tell how much of that I was born with versus developed. And it's and no one will ever, chicken or the egg kind of thing. No one will ever know. But what I'm saying is I'll put it to you this way. I was able to successfully navigate really about the first 30 years of my life without a human being saying, hey, you're smart.
That's what I was going to ask
That's
you.
number one. So whatever I had certainly wasn't paying any dividends, and nobody around me was able to, feel the glow of superior IQ emanating from me and somehow pick up on that. Whether it was parents, teachers, counselors, bosses, or whomever, it was never pointed out to me. So whatever I had, I was doing a pretty good job of playing it pretty close to the intellectual vest without letting people see my hand. And I made a lot of decisions and did a lot of things that would certainly fall under the heading of stupid. I wasn't the kind of dude who if he only applied himself, he could have been an A student. No, once in a while I would try to apply myself. It didn't work. So I developed this thing that I continue to develop, and this is why I'm sort of a cheerleader for this. Who cares where you're born or what side of the playing field you're on? Let's get to work, people. That I sort of went, what works, what doesn't work, and most importantly, treating life like a gin rummy hand and going, I don't need these cards. These I'm going to discard. They're not helping me. They're not serving me. Let's get rid of that. But this I need to work on. I was realistic in that I said to myself, here are the things that you're good at. And then I went, here's a whole shitload of stuff you're bad at. So let's try to focus on the stuff you're bad at and see if we can't get it up.
When did you do that? When did you start? So when did you sort of start the process of trying to change yourself actively? I
had a sort of slightly come to Jesus kind of moment for myself when I was probably, 23, 22, 23, where I just sort of went, let's try to really figure out big picture what's going on here. And I said, well, everyone in your family and everyone around you is poor. So we can eliminate when Uncle Gus dies. Oh, yeah, you're going to be yachting. Yeah. So since I eliminated that, and then I kind of eliminated if you went back and hit those books really hard, maybe you started in a junior college and then you could transfer to a 4-year university. I kind of looked at that option and went, no, there's nothing in your past that would indicate that you would have any success at all in that realm. And then I said, all right, so what are we talking about here? And I realized a lot of hard work mixed in with a lot of no pay, mixed in with a lot of sort of dubious associations with guys you meet on construction sites that are going down the same path you're going down. Just sort of life of toiling. Like I said, I was used to, no benefits, no health care, not getting paid on Christmas. And if you missed a day, you didn't get paid for that day. And I sort of thought, you want to own a house, don't you? Like, how are you going to own a house and make the mortgage payment when you can't save up enough for the down? No one in your family has enough for the down. No one's going to co-sign anything. And furthermore, if it rains for a week and you don't go to work because it's muddy, you can't make your mortgage that month. And I just thought, this is not a good prognosis. This swinging of the hammer job is not going to do it. So then I started thinking about, well, there are other things, like maybe you could be a merchant marine. That seems like steady pay, and it seems like you could ship out for 2 months and save money. Maybe they have a union or something with some benefits. Maybe you could get a job. Maybe you know somebody. I tried to be a fireman. That's
right.
where the white privilege kicked in. They told me, we're not hiring white people. I was like, but I'm poor. And they're like, color the skin. So that did set something in my mind. Yes, they said.
And you couldn't understand that as a remedy for something.
Well, not as a remedy.
You couldn't. I'm saying you actually you can understand that as a remedy.
Not as a remedy.
I mean, you can't understand as social policy. Let's look at a police force for a second in an area that's largely black.
Right.
You can't understand that has a history of no black cops.
Yes.
You can't understand saying we have to.
What about a large
reflect...
Asian population?
Yeah, fine.
Do we need Asian police?
Yeah. Yes.
We do?
Yes.
Asians are being shot down in the street?
Yeah, you should have in my mind.
Now you sound like Gavin Newsom.
No, you should have I'm not.
What about
like
a Jewish
Newsom,
community?
Because I'm actually answering
What
your
about
questions.
Jewish community?
Religion doesn't appear, it's not an external characteristic.
You wouldn't
in the
know
same
the
way.
Jews in the Jewish community?
Oh, well, which ones? You're talking about?
Well, should the Jewish community, here's the deal, should the Jewish community have Jewish cops?
What's the
here?
I reject that there's a Jewish
go down to Fairfax.
community.
I'll
and
show
as
you
someone who was
Jewish
born
community.
I'm a Jew.
Well, you got to go down Fairfax.
I'm an atheist.
There's a
but
Jewish
I'm an
community.
Jew.
There's a Jewish community in Fairfax.
I'm saying, yeah, if there were no Jews on the police force.
Well, there probably aren't, but let's go.
Well, come on, we study. No,
All right.
If there were no
Yes.
Jews on the police force.
Yes.
In an entirely Jewish community.
Right.
And Jews wanted to be on the police force.
Yes.
I would suggest that one could make the argument, one can make the argument that there should be some representation. Especially if
the representation is the racist notion. I am fine with having an Indian doctor and an Asian dentist and a black dentist. I don't need the representation.
No,
part.
here's the idea. I said if they want to be, and that there has been an institutional.
If they want to be, yeah.
But I'm saying if there was an institutional bias against them for a long time. In other words, if the cops were all Irish white guys,
yeah,
and they would only let Irish white guys in as cops,
that's wrong.
That's wrong, and that's the problem that was being remedied when someone said you are not going to get the job.
Right.
I'm saying that is, to me, I don't understand. Explain to me why that's not legit.
Well, first off, remedy, a fire department being black, Hispanic, or female is not a remedy to me. There's no remedy. It's just the fire department. Now, to me, if you're black and want to be a fireman, you should have the same shot as being white and being a fireman, but it should be socioeconomic based. I would rather them say, okay, I'll throw you one. What if my friend Tom Dent, the rich black guy, wanted to be a fireman over a destitute white guy?
Here's where I think you and I disagree, but I don't understand why you would disagree if you really think about it for 1 second. As you say to people all the time.
Well, answer my question. Rich black guy over poor white guy.
I promise I'm not going to evade your question. I promise I'm going to answer it directly.
Go ahead.
If that fire department had a history of not letting any black guys be firemen.
Well, let's say they do.
Which is if they do what? They have
a history. They have a history. I mean, it's maybe it's not not last Wednesday, but 50 years ago, or 40 years ago, there is a history. Let's say they have a history,
and let's say when that this is in the first wave after that history.
Well, so no, okay.
Yeah, when you were trying to be a fire person, then
it's been 20 years.
Then yeah, Tom Dent should be a fireman over you.
Okay, so rich guy over poor guy.
In that specific, you're doing the thing to me of making me answer the question like.
Well,
all
I disagree. I'd say give it to the poor guy over the rich guy.
Even if the department was all white, all Irish.
Well,
as many of those departments were for a long time.
I understand, and my feeling is, first off, I don't demand, and it's racist. And it's hurtful to the community to demand that they be represented in this way. There's almost Asians flourish in this country with little to no representation because they just go out and get some. They don't have representation that is equal with their population. They don't give a shit. Now, what do you want to do with the Asians? Get them more representation?
Again, if look, we
have
a
history.
legitimate.
We have a history of suppressing Asians.
Talk is cheap, motherfucker.